All right, listen up. At some point, every Aussie gets hit with the same realization. Retirement isn't an age, it's a number. And for most people, that number is way higher than they think. We grow up thinking super will be enough. But when you run the numbers, there's a silent shortfall most people don't see until it's too late. Inflation, life expectancy, the real cost of living. Suddenly that comfortable retirement looks more like survival. But before you get mad at the system, stop, because there is something you can do about it. There are ways, legitimately proven ways, to 5 times, even 10 times your super to build a retirement buffer that doesn't rely on hope. Because here's the harsh truth. No one is coming to save you. You have to be able to take full accountability for your life and set yourself up for financial freedom before it's too late. This is why I am so passionate about creating these videos, because it's information like this that can literally change your financial destiny. Here's the thing. Most people treat super like something to worry about later, something you leave alone until you're old and ready to retire. But the truth is, the earlier you take control, the better, because it only gets harder later on. If you're seeing this in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even 50s, then grab a pen and paper, because what I'm about to show you could be the difference between scraping by or retiring years early, with more freedom and luxury than you ever thought was possible. Now, before we get into the how, just know this isn't something you want to navigate alone. Getting it right takes more than good intentions. It takes the right strategy and the right people in your corner. That's exactly what we do at Freedom Funding. My team and I are experts in helping Australians build serious wealth, both inside and outside your super, by structuring finance the right way and surrounding our clients with the right partners behind the scenes. We've been doing this for over 8 years, and we've had more than $1 billion of loan conversations during that time. And I personally built a $30 million property portfolio using the exact strategies that I now teach others. I'm not saying this to flex, just to show you that it's real, and it works, and it's possible. So if you're looking to set yourself up properly, there's a link in the description below for you to book in a call. And with that being said, let's get into it. Now, this may go without saying because it's in the name, but in order to invest in property through your super, you must set up a self-managed super fund, which is essentially a new entity that sits on its own in a highly regulated framework. Most people don't understand how investing in property with your super works, or that it's even an option. Now, the biggest benefit of using a self-managed super fund is that anyone using it to invest in property will then have the opportunity to use leverage to accelerate their returns, way beyond what a standard industry super fund can do, to set themselves up for a way more comfortable retirement. Now, it is important to understand that there is a lot of red tape and regulation around buying property using a self-managed super fund. You can't buy the property and live in it, or rent it out to friends and family. You can't access the capital gains or rental income unless you hit a certain criteria. Now, there is some optionality through doing it commercially, which we'll dive into later in the video. It's also important to remember that buying property in your super, which is what we're focusing on today, isn't the only asset class that you can purchase with a self-managed super fund. You can also invest in stocks, listed securities, gold, silver, even cryptocurrency. But that's not what this video is about, because those aren't areas that I'm an expert in, and I'll never give advice on something that I don't know inside and out. What I do know is property. It's a safe, proven asset class that has consistently delivered strong returns over the long term, and it's what helped me achieve financial freedom. So that's exactly what we'll be diving into today. Now, to start things off, I know you guys love the numbers, so let's break it down. According to the Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia, the average super balance for a man at retirement is $435,000. For a woman, it's $314,000. We'll use the example of $435,000 as a starting point. Now, there are 2 paths you can take here. Path 1 is just to leave it in a super fund. The average return from a balanced super fund over the long term is about 5% per annum. That means that a $435K balance would earn approximately an additional $21,750 per year. Now let's look at the second option, using your self-managed super fund to buy property. With $435K, you can put down a 30% deposit plus transaction costs on a $1.2 million investment property using an LRBA, which is a limited recourse borrowing arrangement. Here's how the numbers will work. Rental yield of 4.5% works out to be $54,000 a year in gross rent. Loan on the remaining is $765,000 at 6% interest rate is $45,900 per year in repayments. Net cash flow is $8,100 per year. Capital growth at 5% on a $1.2 million property is $60,000 per year. So the total return is $68,100 per year. That's a 15.6% return on your original $435K, more than triple that the return of a passive super fund. Not to mention the risk most Australians forget. During the 2008 global financial crisis, millions of Australians lost up to 50% of their super. Why? First, most were invested in growth or balanced options, which were heavily exposed to shares. The ASX 200 fell over 50%. Super funds couldn't react fast enough, and the result was massive losses. Second, most members had no control. They couldn't pull funds out, rebalance, or respond to changing market conditions. Many panicked and switched to cash at the bottom of the market, which locked in their losses. In short, super became a passenger seat in the market crash. If you had a self-managed super fund set up properly at the time, you would have been in a much stronger position. Rental income would likely have continued to come in. Property values may have dipped slightly, but they didn't crash overnight. There were no forced sales or margin calls. Fixed rate loans kept your repayments stable. And most importantly, investors stayed the course because they had control and confidence. Now, historically in Australia, major share market corrections happen roughly every 8 to 12 years, while property corrections occur closer to every 7 to 10 years. But they're usually less dramatic in magnitude. But the point is that it's likely to be inevitable, so you should never rely entirely on someone else or some other group to do your investing for you. When you take control, these crashes can become an opportunity rather than a loss. Now let's run the clock forward. If that $1.2 million property grows at 5% per year for 15 years, it becomes worth approximately $2.49 million. The loan is paid down significantly by the rental income. The SMSF holds over $2 million in equity. Meanwhile, a $435K balance compounding at 5% in the super fund would grow to only just over $900K. That's the difference between having a passive investment and having a strategy. Now, before you get excited and jump all the way in, it's important to understand when using a self-managed super fund makes sense and when it doesn't, because the right structure at the wrong time can still cost you. Let me walk you through a few common scenarios so you can make the best possible decision for your situation. Scenario 1, an investor hits their limit. They've bought 2, 4, 6 properties in their personal name and they've run out of serviceability. The banks have said no more. Here's where a self-managed super fund can be a powerful tool because it's assessed separately. The serviceability is based on the income flowing into that fund, both from super contributions and projected rental income, not from your personal financial situation. So if you've maxed out your borrowing capacity in your personal name but want to keep growing your portfolio, this might be a path forward. Scenario 2, you've run out of equity or deposits personally, but you're sitting on a significant super balance. Rolling part of that into a self-managed super fund to purchase a property can be a smart way to put that capital to work without touching your personal cash flow. Scenario 3, you're a business owner, maybe an accountant, a doctor, consultant, and you want to own the commercial property that your business operates out of. With a self-managed super fund, you can purchase that commercial premises inside the fund and then rent it back to your own company at market rates. It's a niche strategy, but a powerful one, especially for professionals who want long-term control over their overheads and their wealth. What you should be doing depending on your situation. If you have borrowing capacity in your personal name to invest in property, generally speaking, you should be looking at this before going down the self-managed super fund path. The amount of leverage, the lenders who are able to support at better rates, and the ability to do different things with the asset are far more flexible for an investment property owned personally than starting with something that's owned by a self-managed super fund. For those who are already heavy in property investment and have no exposure to other markets like stocks and equities, then definitely consider if self-managed super funds in property is really the right thing to do for you, or if you should have some form of diversification in your investments. Now, I cannot stress this enough. There are risks associated with self-managed super funds. You have to get the right setup with SMSF. This means using an experienced accountant for the structure creation and the compliance reporting. You need an experienced broker who is a specific expert in this space and understands the lending options. This isn't like normal lending. There are only a handful of lenders who can do self-managed super fund loans. As for the most part, the major and mainstream lenders have left that space years ago. There are also different policies in this space as well, different ways policies are applied, so only an expert broker will know all the options. And finally, you need the right conveyancer who understands this structure to ensure the purchase is structured accordingly. Without this, the risks are far beyond just picking the wrong property to invest in. It could send you backwards at a rate of knots. Our team at Freedom Funding are experts in the entire process. We'll guide you through step by step on what your options are and help determine the smartest move for your situation. We've done it for ourselves, we've done it for thousands of clients, and we can do it for you too. We'll also connect you with the right business partners to ensure that there are no costly mistakes and that you have the right advice every step of the way. If you're serious about getting into the market and having an unfair advantage, I have left a link in the description below. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped you evaluate your options and get a clearer picture of what's possible for you. As always, I'm backing you on your journey, and I'll see you in the next one.